The next type of equation that we're going to look at is a multi-step equation that has variable terms on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead right into my steps here. I'm going to identify my variable terms. 15 minus 2x equals negative 7x. And I see I have negative 2x on the left as a variable term, but then I have negative 7x over here on the right. These cannot just be simplified. They can't just be crunched together because they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. We're going to have to manipulate this a little bit in order to figure out in order to get them on the same side so that we can simplify them. Now, the other thing I'm going to do, I've identified my variable terms. Now I'm going to identify my constants. Well, I have a 15 right here. 15 minus 2x equals negative 7x. So here's my constant. Now, when I look at this, it tells me to collect the variable terms on the left. Ultimately, I want my x to be over here on the left. There are two different ways this can be solved. I'm going to show you one, and that's the way that we get the variable terms over to the left. It's actually the more difficult. When we're done, I will erase this and I'll show you how to do it the opposite way. But I want you for right now to think about getting the variable terms to the left and the constants on the right. Collect variable terms on the left, collect the constants on the right. So I have one variable term already on the left, I have one on the right, and I want to get it to the left. So if I want to move something from one side of the equal sign to the other, I need to do the inverse operation. Some people get confused by this because this term is by itself. You can consider this subtraction. This is minus 7x. The way I would undo minus 7x would be to add 7x. And remember, if I add it to the right side, I have to add it to the left side. So this entire thing, I'm going to add 7x to it. So I'm left with 15 minus 2x plus 7x equals, and if I look at this, this actually cancels out to 0. So I'll rewrite this so you can see that. I have 15 minus 2x plus 7x, and I'm boxing my variable terms in, circling my constants, equals 0, because that's what I'm left with right now on this side. That's okay, because if 0 is sitting there, I can add and subtract things to 0 so that I can get this back to where I want it to be. So you'll notice I have collected my variable terms on the left. I have these two things together on the same side of the equal sign. So now I can simplify these just like I did in an earlier video, but I'm going to wait on that because my step that is in between here is I need to collect my constants on the right. So on the left side, I've got 15 minus 2x plus 7. I need to get this 15 off of the left. I need to get it over to the right because that is how I collect anything that is a constant over to the right. 15 minus 2x plus 7. This 15 is positive because there's no sign here. We can consider that plus 15 and we'll subtract 15. That's the inverse operation of plus 15. 15 minus 15. But whatever I do on the left, I need to do on the right. So now I'm going to subtract 15 from the right-hand side. 15 minus 15 is 0, so that goes away. And I'm left with negative 2x plus 7x equals 0 minus 15, which is negative 15. See, now all my variable terms are on the left, all my constants are on the right. So this was a matter of using inverse operations to get my variable terms on the left, my constants on the right. Now I'm down to the point where I can simplify my equation, just like I did in my last video. Negative 2x plus 7x, they can be simplified because they're together on the same side of the equal sign and they're like terms. So negative 2x plus 7x becomes 5x equals negative 15, and now I'm on my very last step. Now I'm down to a single step equation. 5x equals negative 15, and I use inverse operations. The inverse of multiplication is division. I do the exact same thing that I do on the left, I do on the right. So I divide both sides by 5 because I'm trying to undo this 5 times x. Divided by 5 equals negative 15 divided by 5, and x is going to equal negative 3. Negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. So that is one way to solve this, and that is what I would suggest doing. Also, because sometimes people come up against things like this where you take away something that's on the right and you move it and they're not sure what to do. Remember that if you do minus 7x plus 7x here, that's going to be 0, and you can still work with that 0. Okay, I'm going to erase this and I am going to solve this in a different way so that you can see another way of doing it. In Mrs. Phasic's class, we like for you to solve it like this so that you get the variable terms on the left and the constants on the right. There is another way you can solve it to come up to the right answer. You just have to remember then how you're going to express that whenever you get down to the end. So I am going to erase this part here. I'm going to go back and we're going to redo this, okay? So minus 7x. I'm going to keep everything identified the way it is. We're just going to remember that we had, in the end, we had x equals negative 3 because we want to compare that to the other answer that we're going to find. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I am going to look at this a little bit of a different way. I'm not going to worry about the side of the equation that things are on. This is an option, and this is something that as you move through algebra and through math, you're going to learn why this is important to know. 15 minus 2x equals negative 7x. I can also collect all the constants on the right, collect all the variable terms on the right and the constants on the left. You can flip it around and it will work out to be the same thing. For me, I would choose it this way because this is an easier way to work with it for me. For me, it eliminates a couple of steps. So what I'm going to do, I've got 15 minus 2x equals negative 7x. I know that I want these two things on the same side of the equation. I don't like messing around with that 0 situation we had before, so what I would do is I would work with this to move it over to the right instead of doing it the opposite way. Instead of moving this to the left, I would want to move this to the right. So to undo minus 2x, I would use the inverse operation. I would add 2x to this side. Well, then I have to do the exact same thing and add 2x over to that side. Minus 2x plus 2x goes away, and I'm left with minus 7x plus 2x over here. I still have my 15, and over here I have minus 7x plus 2x, and that is going to give me negative 5x, because I can put, those are like terms on the same side of the equation, so I can simplify them. That gives me negative 5x. Now I have 15 equals negative 5x. It's very similar to what we had, but we had these flipped around because of the way that we did our math before. So now what I'm going to do is I want to undo negative 5 times x. So undoing multiply by 5 is to divide, the inverse operation of multiply by 5 is to divide by negative 5. I'm really messing that one up. The inverse operation of multiply by negative 5 is divide by negative 5. So I'm going to divide this side by negative 5, divide the other side by negative 5, because whatever you do on one side, you have to do the exact same thing on the other, and you're going to end up with x equals 15 divided by negative 5, which is negative 3. And if you look, negative 3 equals x, x equals negative 3. We came to the same solution, but in two different ways. So whichever way is going to work out for you is the best. You just need to remember that ultimately you want to turn it around so that your x is on the left and your actual solution is on the right. Your variable's on the left and your constant is on the right.